We are very close into getting into the college football 27 cycle here. And one of the biggest things that a lot of you people I know you care about, it's not the biggest thing I care about because I buy the game digitally, but I know a lot of you, you're younger, maybe you still get the physical copy and you want to see your favorite players on the cover of the game. CFB 25 and CFB 26 all featured multiple players, but I think from what we heard with Trinidad Chambliss' lawsuit regarding his eligibility, which I believe just maybe finally got wrapped up, or at least the Mississippi Supreme Court said that he can be eligible. I don't know. Not here nor there. This isn't what this is about. Is basically he was offered a cover deal from Electronic Arts. So we can maybe take away from that is that College Football 27 will have a singular cover star. There are a lot of great options to choose from, but we know who that for the most part, whoever will be on the cover will likely either be a quarterback, running back, or wide receiver. I don't have any wide receivers on this list because I think the guys who would be good choices for this, they were already on the cover last season in Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. So I don't think they'll get a singular cover, but I do have 10 players here who I think will be on, who I think could be on the cover for College Football 27. So if you're ready, let's get into it right here. If you want to keep up with me and all my thoughts about College Football 27 moving forward, eventually when we start getting news here in maybe about a month and a half, I think, hit subscribe, keep up with the channel, and let's get into this list. Number 10 is going to be Dante Moore, quarterback, Oregon. After a great season with the Ducks, Dante Moore is definitely a high-profile, recognizable face of college football. He chose to stay in school rather than enter the 2026 NFL Draft. And I think playing for a big brand like Oregon definitely can help with that. I mean, you already know the game's gonna do multiple editions of the game, so I'm sure they could do multiple different colors of him in different like fancy Oregon, fancy Oregon uniforms and things like that. I mean, when you think Oregon, you think all of the uniform options and things like that. I think you could see that here with that cover. Honestly, I still don't know exactly. I think one of the things that I want to talk about here too is we know for a fact that there's going to be a modern college football player on these covers, someone who's still in college. I do think you could see a dual player cover, but this time it's a player from the past, right? And Oregon has a lot of recognizable players in the NFL today, so I think you could kind of see that as well, with like a Heisman edition, right? I mean, you think Marcus Mariota, things like that, right? So I could see that. Again, Dante Moore, big time quarterback. Is he considered a high? He might be one of the few guys who could be in the running for a Heisman, could be in the running to win the national championship with Oregon, right? He came back because of that, for a shot to do that. So I think Dante Moore would make a lot of sense to put on the covers. That's why he slots in here at number 10. Number 9 is going to be Malachi Toney, wide receiver, Miami. Toney is the only wide receiver on this list, and I think for good reason. Again, like I said, the other two wide receivers who I think would be good choices, they were on the cover last year. Toney, I think, really showed himself in the CFP. I think really all of last season with Miami. He was a guy who definitely stood out. I think there's a chance if he was draft eligible, I think a lot of people think, hey, maybe this guy would be wide receiver 1. He looks like an insane player, and he looks like a really fun player. I think Miami, also the U. I think really similar to Oregon, this is one of the most recognizable brands, I think, in all of college football. Miami is going to be in the mix this upcoming season anyways. So I think when you think about marketing perspective, you probably want to have someone on the cover who's going to be in the mix for big time awards, big time games, going to be playing in those big notable matchups all season long. I think Malachi Toney fits the bill right here. So that's why he's going to slot in at number 9 on this list as the only wide receiver I have on this list. I know someone's going to be upset about that. They're going to think, hey, what about this guy or this guy? If I personally didn't really think about him, then I doubt they'd be on this list because I think they're going to try to get a big time star. And I think Malachi Toney, again, like I said, fits the bill. Number 8 on this list is going to be a quarterback. Now we get to our run of quarterbacks here for a little bit. Julian Sayin, Ohio State. We talk about being in the mix. Ohio State is always in the mix. And last year, for CFB 26, one of Sayin's top targets, Jeremiah Smith, was on the cover alongside Alabama's Ryan Williams. Again, like I keep saying, neither are on this list because they were already on a cover before. So, Sayan is considered one of the top quarterbacks going into this 2026 season. And again, when you really think about it, it would make a lot of sense, again, to have an Ohio State quarterback on the cover. Again, Sayan, a lot of people really like Julian Sayan. I guess what I think doesn't really matter in terms of these guys as players. But Sayan, I'm not the biggest Julian Sayan guy personally. But again, Ohio State, like we mentioned before, one of the biggest brands in all of college football, like Miami, like Oregon. Do I think there's a shot for like a non, blue blood program to have a player on a cover? Sure, it happens. It always happens. I mean, for Christ's sakes. There was a Boise State player on a cover before. I mean, granted, I know Boise State, they kind of had a nice run in the 2010s. I forgot what year that cover was, but, it doesn't have to be a blue blood school for the player to be on the cover, but I think it makes the most sense. Again, from a marketing standpoint, the game for the entire college football cycle, Ohio State, most things really fall apart, are going to be in the mix. They're going to be of note. They're going to be talked about. They're going to play big-time games. You can show the trailer with Julian Sayan in there. I think it would make a lot of sense. He'll be a big part of the marketing of the game, all of that sort of stuff, all of the marketing materials, and I think that would just make a lot of sense to kind of go hand in hand with, I think, marketing the game and in-season stuff like that. So I think that's something that they're always going to consider. So that's why we have Julian Sayan here at number 8. Number 7 is going to be another quarterback. It's going to be another player from Miami. Again, another player from Miami makes the list, and this one is interesting for the simple fact that, if he was on the cover, this would be like the first time anyone would see him in uniform before he even suits up and plays a game for their school. It's Darian Mensah, quarterback, transferred from Duke. Now, I think there's something interesting about having a guy on the cover right away who is a transfer, right? I think that would make a lot of sense. You having a transfer quarterback who took a massive nil bag on the cover of the game. I think that would be really kind of just on brand for the current state of college athletics. Again, I think Mensah checks multiple boxes that we've mentioned before. Again, Miami, big time school, probably expected to compete in the ACC, of course, expected to compete for a college football playoff spot, going to be in a lot of marquee games, and he's a quarterback. And, like the Heisman Award, I feel like for the most part, these are like quarterback things now. You're not going to see too many. That's why there's like no defensive players on here. I could have named some defensive players of note, but I just don't think they're going to put defensive players on the cover. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I think for the most part, Darian Mensah, quarterback, Miami, he's going to slide in here at number 7. Number 6 is going to be LaNorris Sellers, quarterback, South Carolina. Sellers would be an interesting choice. Honestly, I feel like LaNorris Sellers is like an ideal, like he is almost like out of a video game, right? He's like almost like the prototypical Madden college football 5-star quarterback that you find that's awesome athlete, big arm, fast, strong, all that other good stuff. In real life, he really hasn't put everything together, I think, as a quarterback, but I think if he has a big 2026, he could easily become, I think, a real Heisman contender and easily become like a top, 2 or 3 quarterback in next year's draft class. Now, that's not the biggest thing that we're concerned about is, the draft status of some of these guys, but again, South Carolina plays in the SEC. There's going to be a lot of big-time games that he's going to be in all year long, and if he checks the boxes in terms of the play, then it's a big boon for the marketing of College Football 27 because, again, here the guy who's on the cover, he's in these big-time games, he's making these big-time athletic plays, throwing the ball, from one side of the stadium to the other, all this other good stuff. I think that would make a lot of sense, and again, I think it would help with the marketing of the game a little bit, so that's why number 6 is going to be LaNorris Sellers. Now, number 5 is going to be Jaren Kiwe Saga Pelote, or JKS for short, quarterback out of Cal. I hope I didn't butcher that. It's a really hard name. It's a little tough for me. I hope I did okay with it. I doubt I did. I'm sure someone will tell me. But JKS's loyalty to Cal, despite likely getting multiple millions of dollars in offers to basically leave and jump ship, I think that is something that should be commended in this era of college football. And, he really, for a true freshman, he played absolutely amazing football at times. When was the last time we talked about a Cal quarterback that wasn't like Jared Goff or Aaron Rodgers, right? So he is a guy who truly is an impressive quarterback. And I think a lot of people think, I don't think he's a 2020. He's, I think, what is it, a 2028 prospect, most likely. Granted, there's a lot of time for him to be on the cover, so I think maybe that could be something that keeps him off, where EA kind of just assumes he'll eventually will transfer, and maybe that's when they'll put him on the cover. 2025 Pop Warner Trophy winner, an award that was brought back. The last person who won that award was Andrew Luck. True freshman All-American, led the ACC in completions, was one of the only 2 quarterbacks in FPS history to start his career with 13 consecutive 200-yard passing games. He really does appear to be poised to be kind of that next can't-miss quarterback that we're going to be talking about for the next couple of years. So I think that could be the thing that keeps him from being on the cover, but he seems poised to do a lot of big things in college football. So I think that would make sense to get him on the cover. So that's why we're going to have him at number 5. Number 4 on this list is going to be the only running back that is on this list. It's Lamar Bo Jackson out of Ohio State. Again, I like the name alone. I think is a really cool thing. He has no relation to the OG, the real Bo Jackson, but again, Ohio State, marketable brand, would be a non-quarterback. Again, if they want to do a thing where they kind of go multiple athletes on the cover, you could probably pair him up with, Julian Sayin on the cover. Maybe you put another one of those Ohio State wide receivers on the cover as well, right? If you wanted to do that. But I do think this will be the first year where they finally go with a single player. Lamar Jackson here, Lamar Bo Jackson. He has the names of a couple really great college football players. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think, again, I mentioned before, Ohio State, big brand. He's a big marquee running back. There were some other running backs I did consider. Ahmad Hardy out of Missouri. I gave him a consideration for this spot as the lone running back on this list. I think there's some other guys. Jaden Ball is a guy who could be on this list out of Florida. There's a lot of good running backs in college football right now, but I decided to go with Lamar Bo Jackson here again, just because Ohio State, they like having Ohio State people on the cover, I think. Ohio State, big brand, bigger than Missouri. Florida's kind of down right now. So I think in terms of the big-time running backs, I think Lamar Bo Jackson makes a lot of sense. That's why he is going to be at number 4, and that's the last of the non-quarterbacks for this list. Number 3 is going to be Jaden Maivia, quarterback out of USC. Led the Trojans to a 9-3 record in 2025, 3,400 passing yards to 29 touchdowns. I think Maivia is another one of these kind of like guys that Lincoln Riley has definitely helped develop. Granted, as a whole at USC, you would like to see maybe USC to play some defense, but we're not talking about the teams. We're talking about players who would be on the cover. USC, big brand, right? Going to play a lot of big games. And Lincoln Riley, they're going to put up numbers with him as the coach. Granted, Maivia might not be kind of the same level prospect as like Caleb Williams, but again, that's not really, I think, a deciding factor here. I think a deciding factor is marketability. I think the school you play for, how well you play. Are you going to be someone who's going to put up big numbers in big-time games? Are you going to play a lot of big-time games going forward this year? USC, they play in the Big Ten. They probably have a lot of big-time important games. This is a team, USC, that, again, has been on the outside looking in for the college football playoff here. Really, it's like 1 or 2 losses are really what kind of has kept them out. Again, USC, they have a good regular season. This could be a team that could definitely be in the college football playoff. Maivia could be a guy could even contend for the Heisman if things go the right way for USC. So I think that is a situation where, again, would make sense, will make will make marketing throughout the college football season really easy, because here's a big-time player at a big-time school who's playing in a big-time game, and he's on the cover of the game. And you can have those ads running during said games. So I think that is, again, very, 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 very much something that you always have to think about when deciding who they're going to put on the cover. Is that like how it used to be, where it was like, yeah, whoever like was the first overall pick or a top 5 pick from the previous college football season, that's who ends up on the cover, right? If we were doing things like how we used to, like Fernando Mendoza would be on the cover of College Football 27, as opposed to a situation of now where it's actual college football players who are still in college. So that is going to be number 3. Now let's get into number 2 here. Number 2 on this list is going to be Brendan Sorsby, quarterback, Cincinnati, Texas Tech. Like Darren Mensah, Sorsby decided to transfer after getting a massive nil package from oil-rich Texas Tech booster. Sorsby signed a monster nil deal with Texas Tech, somewhere around $5 to $6 million for the 2026 season, making it one of the largest in college football. Sorsby, at least at Cincinnati, showed he had the goods as a player. I think there was a time where, I think you remember during the college football season, where he was viewed as potentially a, quarterback 2 in this upcoming draft. Some struggles kind of knocked him down the board. Maybe some people thought he's more of a day 2 guy. Regardless of his NFL future, Sorsby will be a high-profile player on a Texas Tech team that I think is looking to go back to the CFP, trying to make another run at a championship this upcoming season. I think getting a player on the College Football 27 cover, I think, would further drive home that Texas Tech is ready to be taken seriously again. I believe the last time they had a player on a cover, I believe it was Michael Crabtree, which was a very long time ago, which actually kind of makes me feel old, because I remember when Michael Crabtree was a young up-and-coming player, rookie in the NFL, and he hasn't been that for a very long time now. So Brendan Sorsby, number 2 on this list. Now let's get into number 1. The number 1 player who could likely be on the College Football 27 player is going to be Marcel Reed, quarterback out of Texas A&M. In 2025, Reed emerged as one of the premier dual-threat weapons in the country. Reed wasn't just a stat patter, he led Texas A&M to an 11-0 start and the greatest comeback in school history against South Carolina, erasing a 30-3 halftime deficit. He has shown that he can perform on the biggest stages. I'm actually joking about that. Marcel Reed is not the number 1 player who should be on the College Football 27 cover. Marcel Reed sucks, and Texas A&M sucks. The real number 1 player on this list is going to be, you guessed it, Arch Manning, quarterback, Texas, the chosen one, right? The prodigal son. Started off the 2025 season a little rough, likely playing through some injuries, but by the end of the 2025 season, I think it was clear why Arch Manning has been pegged for greatness, why people have been so excited about him. Now, granted, he famously opted out of the initial College Football 25 group cover photo. I believe he initially wasn't even going to be in the game because he was focusing on football on the real field. The landscape for College Football 27, I think, is completely different. I think this is the perfect storm for him to finally take that spotlight. Arch is currently the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Now, I know betting odds don't matter, but he is the most high-profile player in all of college football, and for good reason, but also the name does a lot of heavy lifting on its own, but I think Arch as a player has shown that he can lift just as much himself, regardless if his last name was Manning or not. I think EA Sports would love to put the preseason Heisman favorite on the cover. Again, like I said before, it's going to guarantee that the game stays relevant throughout the entire fall with the marketing. I think EA putting anyone on the cover is basically them saying this is the guy to watch this upcoming college football season. It does put a big target on your back, but I think Arch is someone who has dealt with having that target on his back probably since he started playing football, his entire life. The Manning name is basically football royalty. And yet, no Manning has actually ever appeared on an EA Sports cover. Now feels like the perfect time for that to change. And also, Arch probably isn't going to come back for a senior year of college football. I highly doubt it. So if you're EA, this is maybe your one shot to get him onto the cover now, right? I mean, until he's in the NFL, and who knows how much more, again, I think Arch Manning's going to be a great, pro football player eventually, but, that's going to take some time. Get him on the cover now, build that relationship now, and then eventually you can get him on the cover of Madden. So Arch Manning, number 1 here. I think that's the most obvious choice. I think everyone really is expecting that. they could maybe come out of left field. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other players. Kewan Lacey, I think, is another running back out of Ole Miss that I did had thoughts about. He could be on the cover. That's another running back that I kind of forgot to mention. But again, I'm sure there's some other players that I'm just forgetting about. But I think these are the ones, these are the 10 that I think are the most likely. I think a lot of these guys are Heisman favorites. I think almost everyone I mentioned probably is a Heisman favorite, right? If they put up a great season, if they execute how a lot of people think these players can execute, they'll be in the running for the Heisman, all sorts of other awards, things like that. Their teams will be in contention. So I don't feel like EA could go wrong really with any of these choices, but I just think for the most likely choice, it likely will be Arch Manning. That's kind of what I'm predicting. I could be wrong. But if there's someone you think I forgot, if you think there's someone that I didn't mention, let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think of this list? And yeah, I am starting to get excited for College Football 27. It is the end of March here. We're going into April. We're probably not going to hear any news about this game. Probably not till May. If I had to take a really wild guess, I don't think we're going to hear anything until May. Maybe even June, honestly, because the rollout last year, I think, was pushed more into June as opposed to May like it was with College Football 25. So I think we won't see anything probably till June, if I'm being honest. So yeah, but hopefully there's some leaks starting to come out. Maybe not. I don't know, but I'm excited for College Football 27. I did like 26. I personally thought 25 played a little bit better. I'm actually having a video where I'm going to talk about what I want to see out of College Football 27. So look for that here as we enter the College Football 27 cycle. I'm maybe entering it a little early, but hey, I hope I'm just excited for the game. And if you're excited for the game, why don't you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys for more college football content on the channel.